Hi there, Nigel Saunders of KW Bonsai. Today we're going to be repotting this orange tree. This orange tree has a kind of a strange history. I originally purchased one of those miniature orange trees that you typically see in the stores years ago, like probably 20 years ago, I think. And the original tree died. I had it in the house with, it wasn't getting enough light in the window. It was one of the old houses we lived in. And anyway, the original tree died, and it had oranges on it when I bought it, of course, so it looked really nice. And one of the oranges fell off into the soil, and it just stayed there, and one of the seeds in the little orange sprouted in the soil and grew. And this is the tree today. So yeah, from a seed it's probably close to 20 years old anyway. And then the other funny thing that happened with this tree is I put the trees out on the bench in spring, and then I was watching a video the other day of my trees, and I saw this tree on the bench. It was a video from spring, and I thought to myself, I haven't seen that tree in a long time. So I thought, no, I don't remember it there at all over the entire summer. So I thought, I wonder what happened, and I thought, well, maybe it's fallen off the bench or something. So I had a look underneath the bench, and sure enough, in the ground cover underneath the bench was the tree lying sideways on the ground in the pot. And it had been there since spring, so it's been there for probably at least a month and a half, maybe 2 months. And it was still alive. It has one broken branch here that I think I'm going to have to prune off. There might be a slight live vein, but it's broken. Yeah, it's really broken where it joins. So that was the only damage to the tree. And somehow it remained alive without me watering it at all summer, which is amazing. I guess it was pretty damp under that ground cover. So anyway, I'm going to repot the tree today. It hasn't been repotted in quite a while. I'm guessing 4 to 5 years ago. It's always been a very small tree. So I'm gonna put it in some better soil and put it in a bonsai pot and see what we can make of this as a bonsai. I'm going to cut that broken branch off. There it is. And we'll get the tree out of the pot. And I think it's quite root bound. It's coming out now. There's a shot of the roots taking the shape of the pot nicely, and yeah, pretty dense. So let's get the moss stripped off the top. We may reuse it. It's nice and green. And we'll start raking out our roots. We'll start from our base of our tree and rake outwards on both the top and the bottom. It's always nice when a little seedling starts to go from the looking like a little seedling to the point where it starts to get a bit more tree-like. It starts to get some bark and some thickness to the trunk and some nice root flare. And yeah, it's always a nice point in time where you start to see the tree within the seedling, especially when it was grown from a seed long ago. There's a saying, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time? Today. I kind of agree with that. Okay, I think we're gonna flip the tree over and see what we can do on the bottom. The roots are pretty tough on the bottom. I think we're gonna have to do some cutting to kind of get rid of that bottom layer for starters. Yeah, there's quite a Quite a tough mat on the bottom. Fairly thick roots too. Well, we might be able to start raking that out. It's looking a little better. So I'm going to further cut back these large roots that are heading straight down. Cutting them off, you know, in step by step, just to make sure we're not removing roots we want to keep. And do some more raking. And we're getting most of the old soil removed. Alright, we'll just wash the roots and I'll be back. I'm going to comb the roots out again. I'm going to take these large roots right back to the base of the tree, right down. So we'll start with that. We want to keep our root base flat on the bottom. I think we can even go further back than that. There. Much better. That's looking pretty good. We're down to the base of the tree. Let's start pruning the rest of the roots. There's some that are going straight down here. We can prune those back. Let's give it a trimming. We'll move all these roots going down to create our flat root ball on the bottom, or a root base, not a ball. These chickens should be experts at creating bonsai by now. They've hung around while I do videos so much that they probably know how to do everything. Okay, let's go back up top now and see what's going on. We've got a root sticking up here that we want to get rid of. So I'm going to cut that back. There's a few roots around this side of the tree that are kind of high also. I don't want this tree to be like a slanting style or anything. I want it fairly upright. So I think we got to trim some of these higher roots off this side. There is a thick root in here that needs trimming back a little harder. We want to prune our thicker roots back and let the thinner ones grow to kind of equalize the root base. So we have a nice balance of roots all the way around. A few roots sticking up here, I'm going to trim them off. Cut back some of these outer ones which are kind of hit the edge of the pot and are bending in a funny direction. So you can see, because this tree wasn't repotted in a while, we had to prune off some pretty thick roots on the bottom. So instead of, you know, developing our nice radial roots up top here, a lot of energy went into growing those roots on the bottom. So we kind of, you know, wasted some development time in the upper surface roots by letting those grow too much. I'm going to take them back even further here. It's sitting pretty good now. We'll do a little carving just to get that one bump off of there. A few roots sticking up here we can trim back. And just give our roots a mist. Keep them moist while we're working on them. Pretty flat on the bottom now. I think that'll do. Let's plant our tree. I've got our pot ready with the soil and screens in. So the next thing I want to do is pick the front of the tree. And this tree's young and this won't be its final pot. This is just a training pot for it. That's a pretty good view there. I think somewhere there. Looks pretty good. We'll put a bit of a mound of soil in the pot. We'll offset it just a little bit. Again, this is, you know, early in this tree's training. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to come out front and have a look at it, and then we'll do a final rake out of the roots and then fill it in with soil. Okay, looking back here, It's not too bad. I think it's over to the left-hand side a little too much. I think we could move it a little bit towards the middle. Let's do that. How does that look? You can't tell me. I'll have to look. That looks better. The roots fill the pot nicely. There's room for them to grow. Combing out those ones I can correct. That's not bad. Okay, let's fill it in. Tree's a little wiggly. We got to get the soil worked into the roots. And for that I'm going to use my knitting needle. So here we go. We just gently work the soil into the roots. Now the roots were very fine and these particles are fairly large in the soil. So it won't, excuse me, Aunt, busy here. So the, you know, you won't get soil all around all the fine roots. But they're safely under the soil and they'll stay moist and they'll grow nicely. You just work in what you can. The tree's getting firmer in the pot. A lot of people ask me why I don't wire my trees into the pot, and this is the reason. I like to feel how the tree wiggles in the pot. And when the roots are completely surrounded by soil, it doesn't wiggle much at all. If that tree was wired in there rigid already, you wouldn't be able to feel how wiggly it is. Also, wire can leave some nasty wire marks across your roots. I've seen many a good root base spoiled with wire marks going across them, across the surface roots. If you're careful and wire your trees in properly, put some rubber protection over your roots, wire them, you know, away from the surface roots that'll be showing, you should be okay. And wiring can be a good thing. Yeah. Okay, so we're ready to water the tree. Here we go with the water. Nice draining soil. There we go. I am going to place a bit of moss around it, so I'm just going to wet the moss that came off both sides, and then we'll place it around the tree. Just pushing the moss down to make contact with the surface of our medium or soil. And we'll give it a misting, or more of a watering, I guess. There. I think we're done. So that's it today for our orange tree, or dwarf orange tree. Hopefully someday we'll get little oranges on it. Maybe I'll plant some seeds from those again. So Nigel Saunders of KW Bonsai. Do something green today. Take a walk in a forest or a nature area and see what all this green fuss is about. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.